Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much again for joining me here. Hope you're having a great day. I'm not feeling super well. I think I caught my wife's cold here. Feeling pretty scratchy in the throat and just general headaches. So I'm going to try to make this quick. We're going to cover Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana and just double check some important levels here. I feel we're going to see this fair value gap get filled from Bitcoin and pull back a little bit to that local support range there with that previous support at about 89,000. So there's a good chance we do see that, but mainly just expecting the fair value gap to get filled there. And then also too, kind of look in the back end data here. We can jump right in honestly right now and just kind of quickly understand that 91.6 is that local area of control. That's the place in which we shorted a couple of days ago, found some good success with that when the price pulled back on a weekend. There's a good chance that area will slow down, or we'll see the price action slow down when it enters that range, just based on that being a local resistance. So 91.5 is that rough estimate for local resistance. We can see liquidation delta has shifted bullish, and this is a very unique behavior here. Now there is a post on social media that I was able to forward over. Essentially, these are the amounts of Bitcoin that Wintermute, Binance, Whale, Wallet, Coinbase, BitMEX, these are all areas in which they got filled, right? So it's a really interesting scenario here in which big money's buying the dip. It's no surprise the price pulls back and they buy it up when everyone takes some shorts. So at this point, everyone's probably taking longs right now. So what do? We maybe consider some shorts because everyone that wants to see a breakout trade, we're above 90,000, we're going to the moon. It's probably going to pull back, at least for the short term. It may not be as substantial as Sunday's pullback, but I think it will be. Anyways, we're going to take a look at all that and much more. Let's take a look. All right, folks, before we get started, quickly hit the like button, comment below. Make sure you enable alerts so you can stay abreast on all these updates. I basically analyze the charts every single day. So no downtime, even when I'm not feeling so well. However, if I'm not feeling well tomorrow, you probably won't hear from me. So just a heads up on that. Anyways, nonetheless, at this point, just double checking a few things here on the order blocks. We can see it's pretty tight, 90.5 and 9100 above and below the price. There's no major delta there, kind of letting us know that we're either going to shoot up or shoot down. It's just kind of par for the course when the price action's kind of trying to fight for this range after being overextended leading into this 91K range. Okay, correction, this is open interest. We can see open interest is decreasing, but volume increasing. It's generally construed as a weakness, right? A weak sign in the market, and I'll explain more so about that here in a minute. First of all, I want to clarify that stablecoin dominance is dropping pretty hard. This is good news here. Generally speaking, money is flowing into altcoins. As we can see, most coins are back up 7 to 10%, as if it never happened, right, in the first place. Interesting how this works. Like we see these charts. In fact, speaking of charts, here's my my Bitcoin chart. This is what it looks like right now. This pretty much explains it, right? Yeah, exactly. Just total trash. This shouldn't be happening. This doesn't happen in traditional markets, but it's crypto 101, folks. Anyways, the reason why we're seeing all this happen right now is beyond me. I don't know specifically the reason for it. I know that Wintermute is buying a whole heck of a lot of Bitcoin, and so is Binance. So those are little factors there. But generally speaking, we're seeing stablecoin dominance starting to decrease, and once more, crypto total market cap for altcoins increasing. So money's flowing into Bitcoin and altcoins, but we're not seeing this high shot here for Bitcoin, which is good. Bitcoin dominance shouldn't be shooting up. We want Bitcoin dominance to go sideways like it is, and altcoins to excel, because that will allow us to see altcoins do better. Okay, they're going to do pretty well here moving forward. So let's take a quick look at the last 7 days of liquidation, just kind of clarify. There is a lot of both above and below, right? Generally speaking, we're going to see some kind of breakout in either direction because of that. Now, we've already seen a breakout from like the 88K to 91K range, but the truth is there's a lot of late longs piling up, and it would make sense for that fair value gap below the price to get hit, right? So those are things that I'm kind of thinking of. I think a short-term pullback makes sense just based on this massive overextension. Now, good news is, market makers are greedy, right? So if we kind of anticipate the fact that they're being greedy right now, they're going to take some profits. It would make sense for the price to pull back. You can kind of estimate where the money's going to be moving based on liquidation, and that's why it's helpful. And there's way more liquidation on the downside than the upside, at least on the short term. Okay, so anybody who took a short in the last 24 to 48 hours is absolutely destroyed, at least in most cases, because majority of people don't know how to use leverage correctly, and they'll probably get destroyed or liquidated. All right. Anyways, there's different strategies, of course. No one's perfect, but try to use low leverage in this market right now, folks. It's just complete nonsense. Anyways, all that said, 91.5 is that open interest range. I talked about that earlier, but just to reiterate, we got liquidation delta as it's basically in the green now at 4 billion, kind of letting us know that bulls are kind of back in control. So you do want to be careful shorting. I would say tight margins is important. And we take a look here. You can see there's a little bit of liquidation left above the price in the last 3 days worth of trading. Keep in mind, this is a 3-day time frame, just kind of giving us perspective of where we're at there. Majority of anyone who got, took any shorts recently, specifically the shorts 87,000, are all toast right now. Yep, they are burnt toast. All right, so let's take a look here at the wonderful chart. This is just kind of, again, me just poking fun, having a little bit of fun. But generally speaking, this is a really good iteration of how the market is right now. This shouldn't be happening. You shouldn't be seeing a 10% correction to the downside, a 10% correction to the upside. That's garbage. I'm exaggerating a little bit. It might be like 6 or 7%, but altcoins got hit by like 15 to 20% yesterday. So it is ridiculous. So hopefully you caught some of those good sales there, and we'll see what's going to happen here next. Based on fib levels, it really doesn't matter too much personally, but you can see that we are above some support. We have that point of control here as well with the most amount of volume at 87,000. So that's kind of the local support level for us. And if the price were to pull back, I think a better case scenario would be 87 to 80, 88, because once more, there's that fair value gap here. The price moved up too fast. If you can see this too, if you zoom in, you can see the previous fair value gap was filled pretty quickly, right? So this one, what's to say this one's going to be just left alone? Do you think market makers are not going to secure profits on that trade? It's just, it doesn't make any sense as to why they would leave that meat in the bone, so to speak. Okay, so once again, short-term pullback would make sense. Try not to be a breakout trader. Honestly, if the price just shoots up tomorrow, I still think it's better in your best interest in this descending trend that we're in right now to not take a long just yet. I think it's still very premature. Once more, I like to trade on confirmation, so that's just my thoughts. But if you look at the charts here, you can see we're obviously still establishing lower highs and lower lows until we get soundly above the 20-day SMA, which we're testing today, by the way, and or above 93,000, the rough estimate of that local high. Then I think there's a good chance that we can presume we're going to still be range bound between 84 and 90K as a rough estimate, okay, or more so 84 to 93 at this point. But we do have a bullish engulfing candle here today so far, right? So we do close above, just say 90.5K today. That may signal a continuation higher as long as volume remains high. Okay, so you got to kind of follow the volume. But at this point here, everything is looking still decent as far as transition from bearish to bullish type of scenario it's looking decent, but it's certainly by no stretch or any means back on track. If you see people talking about, we're going to the metaphorical moon now because we had one good green candle, I wouldn't trust it, because truth is this could be just another fake out, right? Once more, no one truly knows. The only people that know are the whales. They're all communicating together and just destroying people left and right. But at this point, we want to try to be destroyed less often, right? That's the concept. So if you want that for yourself, consider joining CryptoCash.tech as a site link down below. I do have a December sale, the 25 days of Christmas essentially, and we've already got 3 or 4 slots filled. So just know there's only 25 slots available. All that information is over in our Discord under our announcements. It's also in our Telegram too. So if you're not familiar with that, go ahead and double check that. That is all there. Congrats to our community members here for some nice profits again on our Bitcoin short recently and our AVAX short too. All right. So once more, as you can tell, we secured profits on those shorts. We didn't just leave them open for a rainy day and hope that we get we go to the ground floor. Right. That's just not how you trade. Anyways, let's take a look here at Bitcoin. To summarize, 4-hour time frame is looking moderately bullish. Of course, it's going to represent that. But yesterday it was very bearish, right? So it's hard to trust this kind of manipulative market. I would just say remain patient, wait for some confirmation. And to me, confirmation is a closure either above this 91.5K open interest resistance range or essentially consolidating at the local support. So this is my thought. I feel like we're going to probably see the price pull back down to fill the fair value gap and either bounce off this local high. Basically, it was a previous high for us, 89,000, or it continues lower, right, and fills that fair value gap entirely, right. So we may actually see 87K again. So I would urge caution taking along right now. It feels like a trap. All right. So if you can kind of think of that Star Wars meme where it says it's a trap, that's what's happening right now. So those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Comment below. Let's check out the next one. Quick heads up to our traders. We got a 15% discount on trading fees if you use my link to register through Bitunix. Links down below in the description. All right, folks, take a quick look here at Ethereum and double check a few important factors. Generally, I like to start off with a comparison side by side with Bitcoin. And the truth is most coins are identical to Bitcoin. They're just running right alongside of it. So there's a lot of fair value below the price for both coins and lower time frames. So short-term corrections make sense. I would say 2,900 to the 2,850 range. That was a previous open interest range for us yesterday. That should be a good area here to see the price action pull back to. Once more, it's not a guarantee, but I do feel that Bitcoin should retrace a little bit further here. And if it does, has, then there's a solid chance, of course, most altcoins will go with it. So just kind of based on the premise that Bitcoin's going to pull back by a small margin, I don't think we're going to see a catastrophic pullback, but lately it's hard to say. We've been seeing a pretty good ripsaw, but at this point, looking at liquidation or open interest specifically outside the current ranges here locally. Previously, 3050 is that upper resistance here for us. That's the level that Ethereum still has yet to truly close above, right? So we have difficulty reclaiming that $3,000 mark for Ethereum. So I think there's a solid chance that that will be our resistance if we see that retested. Liquidation delta is pretty close to break even. It's a little in the green, of course, but it's kind of wavering depending on how Bitcoin performs here. So I just be careful. The fact that most altcoins today are performing identical to Bitcoin, you can expect some profits to be taken. So I would recommend that you take some profits before that happens, so you don't walk away in the red. Right? That's kind of the concept. But we can see a little bit of liquidation at 3,100, so that's kind of an invalidation level. If we see Ethereum close above 3,100, then that would probably provide us with confirmation that the price, the consideration for a short is probably invalidated. We're shifting bullish at that point. Okay, and when I say shifting bullish, that's very tentative. You need to understand that. So your word I use to describe these short-term continuations in both directions. It's not like we're back on track instantaneously because we have a good close. It takes a little bit of time. It takes more maturity, so to speak, above those levels to be able to have that actually work out in our favor. Okay, so let's take a look at the larger time frames to kind of recognize we can see that this local descending trend, more so the 20-day SMA, we're right there at it. Okay, even though we've broken kind of that lower high pattern, we still haven't broken above our local highs. So once more, reclaiming 3,000 is going to be a pretty big deal. That'll be very helpful. Specifically, 3,100 is what I'm looking for that confirmation. But on the macro structure, we are consolidating nicely here, or have consolidated previously between 27 and 2,900. So that's a good solid support range for us. We're still within that range, so to speak, until we close above. But for the most part right now, we're seeing some good consolidation here, starting to build that foundation of volume. So it's starting to show us that a trend reversal is becoming more likely the more time we spend in this range. But if you saw here previously, we did the very much the same thing here previously, and the price pulled back. Okay, so it's not a guarantee, but once more, daily time frame does look decent. It just hasn't broken bullish yet. So try not to get too ahead of yourself. Last thing to look at here, just be the 4-hour. And this is a pretty significant green candle. Oftentimes, continuation patterns can occur because of it. If you see the previous time frames, we've had a lot of volume. The price will tend to continue in that direction. So I think a short-term continuation of 3050 seems practical at this point. But once more, under the impression Bitcoin doesn't go any higher, I think Ethereum will pull back. But you can also recognize too and understand that from a larger time frame perspective, we can see though that Bitcoin dominance is mostly going sideways. It's increasing a little bit now, but that kind of lets us know that most altcoins are going to perform better, or currently are performing better than Bitcoin, and that may be sustainable if Bitcoin can maintain 91 to 90.5K range. Okay, so those are my thoughts. What are yours? Comment below. Friendly reminder to our traders, we got a 15% trading discount using my link below to register for Bitunix. You'll also automatically be eligible for future trading competitions through this exchange. It's an excellent exchange. There is no KYC required. Be sure to use my link down below to register. All right, folks, taking a quick look here at Solana, I want to say this macro structure is looking pretty solid here in the overall sense. When we look at the larger time frames, it's quick to recognize that we have broken our descending trend line and we're maintaining a range. That's basically step 2 of trend reversal. Step 3 is establishing higher highs and higher lows above the local range resistance, which at this point is still that 144, 145 mark, right? So don't get too attached to the fact that we've broken bullish until we actually have that we've reclaimed that level, right? And that's going to require Bitcoin to also be maintaining 91,000 or higher, right? In a lot of ways, that hasn't happened yet, so it's still very premature. But there's a nice bullish engulfing candle here so far, so macro perspective tells us that Solana is looking pretty decent for the most part. Now, this is not decent price action. Do not confuse this at all, folks. The way that the price action is moving, just significant dumps, significant pumps, this is just total trash. This is big market makers doing what the hell they want, and we're just kind of chumming the water. So the key takeaway here is to make sure you're just not over leveraging, and make sure that you're also using lower position sizes until we have a confirmation on a breakout of this trend, which oftentimes will be late to the party by the time that happens anyways. It's difficult to gauge when the price will move and where it's going to move to. So at this point, when these kind of things happen, the best thing to do is just kind of hang out on the sidelines. Now, we're trading right now too. We got a couple of shorts open with Bitcoin and Ethereum. So I'm not one to talk, of course, but those are very low positions. And there's nothing that's like super risky about those. They're based on key level resistances, which we're entering right now. So just to clarify, 141 is a resistance range for Solana. It's right where the price is at. And also 144 is that local, that macro resistance range here on the current range. So we're kind of entering that upper level. So if you're a range bound trader, which is probably the best strategy in the current market right now, shorting this opportunity may be a good consideration. So trying to get too ahead of yourself, start salivating that we are finally back on track, because we're not yet. All right. Anyways, just try to drive that home, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, other influencers, unfortunately, they're just telling you we're back on track because we had one good day. It's just not how it works. Either way, there is liquidation at 145. So once more, that's that local high and also the macro high here for the current range. We've been, we spent like 10 days in, well, no, it's more like 20 days in this current range of 145 to 122. Okay. Upper and lower. But for the most part, that's not, this is not a breakout by any stretch. It is a nice little potential trend reversal, but it's still very early to tell. So we've already looked at the macro, and we understand the macro is shifting gears, but hasn't fully shifted. 4-hour time frame also giving us good confirmation that we're above 50 in the RSI. Money flow index is trailing behind, but still increasing, while stochastic's increasing as well. So these are generally favorable signs. We're going to see that, of course. It's very standard to see these kind of things when the price shoots up in a 4-hour period. Let's see how the price maintains itself today. And obviously, if Bitcoin can maintain 91,000, if that happens, then we're good to go. I think that we could probably consider some longs in the 145 range. And I know it seems crazy and weird to want to take a long at resistance. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you, if that level is broken and retested and holds, that's when you consider it a long. Don't just take a long right now into that resistance, because we don't know if it's going to reject yet. All right. Anyways, just some food for thought there. I hope that makes sense and it helps you. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks again so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.